Good morning and a very warm welcome. You are watching Janata Television and this is English Bulletin with me, Yutsab Bhattrai. The top stories first. NCP Secretariat meeting decides to reshuffle cabinet, ruling party to dole out regular financial assistance to central members. Domestic flights resume from today. Airlines companies decide not to increase airfare. Pashupati Area Development Trust decides to reopen the temple. PADT officials awaiting government approval. UN chief against reimposing Iran sanctions. Majority of Security Council members against US decision. And goals galore in English Premier League. Liverpool registers comfortable win against Chelsea. And now, the news in detail. The ruling Nepal Communist Party has decided to reshuffle the cabinet. In the first meeting at Baristara after the party unification, the party secretariat yesterday decided to reshuffle the cabinet and help the Central Committee members with irregular financial assistance. A report.
A 3.5-hour meeting of the ruling Nepal Communist Party has decided to reshuffle the cabinet with the intention of making government's actions more effective. Party spokesperson Narayan Kaji Shrestha informed that although the decision to reshuffle the cabinet has been made, the modality and draft of the proposed cabinet is yet to be finalized.
मन्त्री परिषदको पुनर्गठन स्थायी कमिटीको निर्णय अनुसार गर्ने तय भएको छ र पुनर्गठनका सन्दर्भमा आजको सचिवालयले विभिन्न मोडबाट नीतिगत रूपमा पुनर्गठनका सन्दर्भमा सुझाव दिएको छ.
The meeting started off with 4 work lists, first of which was about the cabinet reshuffle, second about the political appointments in constitutional bodies, third about the final organizational unification of the party, and the fourth work list included miscellaneous agendas. Spokesperson Shrestha informed that multiple rounds of discussions were held in the secretariat meeting to help government make the final decision effectively. The meeting also held several rounds of discussions about the empty positions in the Central Committee and the Standing Committee, which also need to be fulfilled. The discussion about providing financial assistance to the Central Committee members was also held, informed spokesperson Shrestha. The members also held discussions about the availability of meeting allowance for all federal parliament members regarding COVID-19.
संघीय संसदको सदस्यहरूले यो कोभिड-19 को अहिलेको वर्षमा भत्ता बैठकको भत्ता के गर्ने भन्ने बारेमा पनि हामीले छलफल राखेका छौं.
Spokesperson Shrestha also informed that a secretariat meeting was scheduled to implement the decisions made by the Standing Committee meeting. Discussions on other agendas and issues will again be held today afternoon at 1 p.m. at Baristara.
Domestic flights suspended since the last 6 months due to COVID-19 pandemic will resume service starting from today. Domestic airline companies have said all preparations have been completed as per the safety protocols set by the government to resume operations. The airline operators added that they cannot suspend internal flights any longer as they aid the movement of general public during the festive season. Airline companies such as Buddha Air, Yeti Airlines and Shree Airlines have offered pre-booking service since last Friday. More than 50% seats of all airline companies have been booked. An aircraft of Buddha Air will fly from Kathmandu to Biratnagar this morning as the first domestic flight in 6 months. Thiruvan International Airport informed. Buddha's flight will be followed by Nepal Airlines flight to Bhojpur and Summit Air's flight to Lukla, TIA added. The airline companies have been permitted to carry passengers in full capacity but not to increase the airfare. Flights to remote areas had resumed a few days ago. Meanwhile, coronavirus has claimed 10 more lives in the country. With this, the total number of deaths from the disease in Nepal has climbed to 411. According to the Ministry of Health and Population, among the deceased, 6 were women and 4 were men. 4 of the victims, including 3 women, were from Kathmandu, while Bhaktapur and Lalitpur reported deaths of 1 woman each. Other victims were from Palpa, Dhanusa, Chitwan and Rupandehi. Meanwhile, the government yesterday confirmed 1,325 new cases of coronavirus in the country. Among them, 602 new cases were reported in Kathmandu, 101 in Bhaktapur and 64 in Lalitpur. The total number of infection in Nepal has surged to 64,122, the ministry informed. The number of active cases of coronavirus currently stands at 17,478. Altogether, 9,071 persons are receiving treatment in isolation wards of various hospitals and health facilities across the country, while the remaining 8,407 are in home isolation. At present, 190 patients are admitted to ICU and 36 are receiving treatment with the support from ventilators. So far, 46,233 infectious persons have recovered from the disease, according to the official figure released by the government. This is Janata Bulletin. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. We continue with other national news. Pashupati Area Development Trust has decided to reopen Pashupati Temple, adopting necessary health safety protocols. The sacred religious shrine of Hindu devotees has remained shut since the beginning of lockdown in March. The temple will reopen for general public after adopting necessary health standards such as maintaining social distance and using mask. PATD added. The devotees can offer prayers staying 2 meters apart from each other, according to PADT's member secretary Dr. Ghanasham Khatioda. According to Dr. Khatioda, arrangements have been made at the temple's west door to let devotees enter the temple via Bhuvaneshwari. The temple can be reopened immediately after the government gives the order, Dr. Khatioda added.
निरन्तर जाने मार्गहरू छन् दर्शनका लागि ती मार्गहरू खोल्दैनौँ पश्चिम द्वार मात्रै खोल्दछौँ र पश्चिम द्वार खोल्दाखेरि हामी भुवनेश्वरीको सानो द्वारबाट प्रवेश गराउँदछौँ र त्यहाँबाट लाइनबद्ध 2-2 मिटरको दूरीमा राखेर मात्रै हामी दर्शन गर्नको लागि पठाउँदछौँ मन्दिरभित्र प्रवेश गरिसकेपछि मन्दिरलाई पुरा परिक्रमा गराउने छैनौँ र मन्दिरको पुरा परिक्रमा नगरिकन मूल ढोकाबाट नै टाढैबाट दर्शन गर्ने फूल अक्षता पातीहरू लिएर नजाने धूपहरू लिएर भित्र नजाने र धूपहरू बाल्नको लागि निश्चित रूपमा एउटा ठाउँहरू तयारी गरेका छौँ.
Special offerings, however, will remain restricted for the time being. Special offerings increase the risk of COVID-19 infection among temple's main priest, Dr. Khatioda added.
र यो लकडाउनको अवस्था रहिरहेको कन्डिसनमा यदि हामीले मन्दिर खोल्नु पर्यो भने चाहिँ विशेष पूजा चाहिँ हामी गराउँदैनौँ किनभने त्यसले भित्र भण्डारीहरू र भट्टहरूमा पनि संक्रमण हुन सक्ने आशंकालाई नजर राखेर हामीले विशेष पूजाका लागि भक्तहरू भित्रै पठाउन सक्दैनौँ नसक्ने भइसकेपछि विशेष पूजाको रकम हामीले लिनु पनि हुँदैन त्यसले गर्दाखेरि त्यो चाहिँ अहिले सम्भावना नभएको अवस्था भयो.
Earlier this week, protests were staged outside the temple premises demanding the government to reopen religious sites, citing the recommencement of all other services. Humla has reported the first ever case of COVID-19 infection in the district 7 months after the outbreak in the country. A PCR test conducted at Nepalganj confirmed coronavirus infection among one person in Jumla. According to Public Health Office Bake, the victim has been identified as a 21-year-old female from Sarkegad Rural Municipality, Humla. The victim returned to Humla in a flight of Summit Air with 12 other passengers on Saturday. The victim then stayed the night at Simikot and travelled to Sarkegad with 4 other passengers via Mountain Air's helicopter. The victim will be kept at home isolation according to the Public Health Office, Humla. Earlier, 4 other people from Humla had tested positive for the disease but were living outside the district. And now the news from Economic Front. Election for a new committee of the Federation of Nepalese Chamber of Commerce and Industry has been scheduled for late November. The election had been delayed time and again due to the coronavirus, but a financial decision was made in the meeting of the office bearers of FNCCI on Friday to hold the 45th General Assembly on November 26, November 27. The date fixed for the election is yet to be approved by the Executive Committee of FNCCI. The umbrella body of Entrepreneurs and Industrialists of Nepal has called its Executive Committee meeting in late September to discuss about the General Assembly and the election. The meeting will endorse the date of election, informed FNCCI Vice President Janata. The Executive Committee meeting is scheduled for September 27 to 28, Thakal added. Earlier, two factions of FNCCI were divided over the date of election, but all sides have agreed to the new date of election, informed Kishore Pradhan, District Vice President of FNCCI. It has been learned that the FNCCI is preparing to hold its General Assembly through Zoom meeting, while the election will be held in Kathmandu by following the health protocols set by the government. According to the statute of the Federation, Shekhar Golcha is set to become the president after the general election, whereas for the position of senior VP, both Chandra Thakal and Kishore Pradhan have put forward their candidacy. We'll be taking a short break here at Janata Bulletin. Stay tuned for international and sports news. Welcome back, and now the international news. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the UN will not support reimposing sanctions on Iran until the Security Council decides to do so. The United Nations decision is a major setback to the United States, which is demanding sanctions on Iran for alleged violation of nuclear accord. The Trump administration declared Saturday that all UN sanctions against Iran have been restored, a move most of the rest of the world rejects as illegal and is likely to ignore, reported AP. The US announcement is certain to cause controversy during the UN's annual high-level meetings of the General Assembly starting today. The meeting is being held virtually this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The US announcement came 30 days after State Secretary Mike Pompeo notified the Council that Iran was in significant non-performance with its obligations under nuclear count. But the overwhelming majority of members in the 15-nation Council called the US action illegal because President Donald Trump pulled the United States out of the plan in 2018. Meanwhile, India's coronavirus cases surged to 5.4 million yesterday. According to Reuters, the second most populous country added 92,605 new infections yesterday. The country has posted the highest single-day caseload in the world since early August and lags behind only the United States, which is 6.7 million cases in terms of total infection. A total of 1,113 people died of COVID-19 in India yesterday, the health ministry said, taking the death toll to 86,752. India's mortality rate from coronavirus is relatively low at 1.6% compared to rest of the world. You are watching Janata Bulletin, and now the latest from the world of sports. Goals galore in the Premier League as 21 goals were scored in 5 games yesterday, with the Premier League champions Liverpool registering a comfortable 2-0 victory over Chelsea. The Reds capitalised on 10-man Chelsea, who lost their defender Christensen on the brink of half-time to an ill-intentioned tackle. Liverpool's Senegalese starlet Sadio Mane scored both the goals for the Reds A neatly placed header in the 50th minute from Roberto Firmino cross and a 54th minute goal as error-prone goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga handed the ball to Mane in front of the Chelsea goal. Chelsea also missed the chance to come back into the game after failing to score from a penalty in the 75th minute. The game ended 2-0 in favour of the Reds, who now welcome Arsenal next weekend. In other matches, Tottenham defeated Southampton by 5-2, while Brighton produced a 3-0 win against Newcastle. Brendan Rodgers' Leicester City also defeated Burnley by 4-2 and currently lead the Premier League table on goal difference. Delhi Capitals came out on top over Kings 11 Punjab in a super over finish after the game was tied in a loaded 20 overs. Needing 158 to win, Kings 11 were off to a watchful start, scoring 30 off 26 balls. Delhi then picked up 4 wickets for 5 runs. Kings 11 were in need of 25 runs in the last 2 overs and Mayank almost pulled them through. However, with the scores tied and Kings 11 required to score 1 of 2 balls, but Mayank, after scoring 89, got out on the penultimate ball of the final over. Stoinis then dismissed Chris Jordan as Rabada held on to a catch at short square leg to push the game into the super over. We are at the end of Janata Bulletin and the headlines once again. NCP Secretariat meeting decides to reshuffle cabinet. The ruling party to dole out regular financial assistance to central members. Domestic flights resumes from today. Airline companies decide not to increase airfare. Pashupati Area Development Trust decides to reopen the temple. PADT officials awaiting government approval. UN chief against reimposing Iran sanctions. Majority of Security Council members against US decision. And goals galore in English Premier League. Liverpool registers comfortable win against Chelsea. And that's all from the English News Desk for today. You can follow Janata Television and our programs on various social media platforms, including on our website at janatasamachar.com. Keep watching Janata Television. Namaste.